We have things to talk about locally in sports. The Miami Heat, worst loss of the season last night.
Brutal.
You can't lose to that team at home.
When you're up 12 with 6 minutes to go, you certainly can't lose to that team at home.
And you got Jarvis Landry saying that talks are slow. Jarvis Landry, I don't know that I've ever seen an athlete quite like him in South Florida. And help me with this, because I don't know that I can speak for the fan base on what the allegiance is to Jarvis Landry, but I think people understand that the organization, as it comes to Jarvis Landry, is telling you, look, this is a very good possession receiver. We are not going to pay him like a number one receiver because he's not a number one receiver. He wouldn't be a number one receiver on any team in the league, and so we're not going to pay him. But I find him confusing because I do believe that the fan base loves the guy like him, who is just super tough. You trust Jarvis Landry to go looking for contact, looking to get, 8 yards when you need 7.
But he stands out for that reason. On a team where you can't trust many people, he's the one guy
I know,
you can trust.
I think the fan base sort of understands that's not good enough. But I don't know that I've ever seen an athlete quite like this in South Florida, where you get to the point of where a guy's excellence limits are. You love him anyway for the things that he is, but you can also understand the business decision of, the Dolphins could probably do better there with that money.
Unprecedented athlete in that he overcame being outnumbered 3-1 last night in the dodgeball contest, outlasted Graham Gano 1v1 to win it.
I like that. I got to admit, I like the dodgeball. I like the Pro Bowl gauntlets.
Did not have Graham Gano being the last member of the NFC
I
team.
did not have Graham Gano being that athletic. Guillermo, put it on the poll. Did you have Graham Gano being that athletic? And then, of course, there's Guillermo and the Marlins. Guillermo, is that the last thing that's going to hurt? Is that trade the last thing that's going to hurt for a while?
Well, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I wasn't hurt that badly at the time. I'm kind of numb to the pain at this point. If they touch that statue, though, it's going to be a totally different story. But, JT's next at some point, right? And we'll see. I mean, they got some people back. Who cares? Who cares, honestly? Who cares? And these people supposedly are good, but Chris Cody told me he coached against one of them and he went 1 for 4, and that's the big guy in the trade. So it sounds like we got Scrubs back again.
Wait a minute, Chris Cody, how is it that you had a sharp single off of Matt Latos and also played with the big prospect? You played with the big prospect?
No, I coached against Lewis Brinson, the center fielder that we got back. He's a 5-tool outfielder, really good player. He went 1 for 4 against our awful baseball team.
He sounds like a bust. And Chris is like, he's like Cameron Maben, which was great the time we had Cameron Maben. That guy
like
sucked too.
Bust because he went 1 for 4 in a game where Chris Cody was the opposing coach.
That's all you need to know.
Did you have your ace on the hill, or
no? What you do is you start with the heat and you go high in the zone,
right?
And then when the 2 strikes come, curve it.
Oh, really? Wow.
Wait a minute.
He sits dead red with 2 strikes.
That's right.
All right.
Is Chris Cody the youngest member of this radio show? I just realized, I just had an epiphany that was startling and disturbing. So Chris Cody is the youngest member of this radio show.
Yeah, by a month. He's got Guillermo by a month.
And Chris Cody was a coach on an opposing team across from the prospect that the Marlins just got back.
The Marlins just got back.
The Marlins just got back. This makes us a very old radio show. When Chris Cody is like the opposing coach, the opposing coach of a prospect.
Assistant head coach, third base coach.
Nice.
What pitcher was it for you? Was it like your ace, or was it like your number 3 guy?
Our number 2 was our number 2.
Number 2 guy.
This guy
What's he up to now?
Nothing.
Wow.
Right.
Wow, this is good analysis. We are deep in the farm system of the Marlins here with our analysis, where we are judging on sports radio this trade based on how this prospect looked in a game against Chris Cody's old, what high school team was it?
He played at Coral Springs. I coached at Piper.
Okay.
So 2 of the top 6 is what we got, supposedly. Is that like 5 and 6? Because it's not their top. It's not their one of the top 3. It's 2 of the top 6.
Two of the top 6 sounds a lot better than one of the top 5.
This kid looked like a pro, though. He just looked like a pro.
Part.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Lewis Brinson.
He sounds like Lewis
The name-
Brinson.
it's a great name.
Lewis Brinson
Yes.
sounds like somebody who's going to be patrolling center field for the Marlins for a decade.
Yep.
You know what I realized yesterday, Dan? You owe Derek Dietrich an apology because he's going to be our All-Star next year.
Oh, for
he's
the
going to
love
be the
of God.
face of the franchise and our All-Star next year.
You know what's
Well, he's
funny?
going to be the body of the franchise.
Well, how about
yeah.
Bohr? I mean,
the
Well,
border
Bohr's
he needs,
gone?
he needs
Yeah.
to stay healthy.
yeah.
Guys, did I tell you about my awkward encounter with Derek Dietrich? Did I tell you about this?
It wasn't it here at the Clevelander?
Yeah.
Was his shirt on or off?
He was wearing a tank top.
Of course.
Of course
Suns
he
out,
was.
guns out.
Yeah.
Of course.
Was he skies out, thighs out too?
I mean, he looked very beach.
He's so good looking and so strong.
He really is.
Oh.
He's a handsome man. Chiseled.
He's not very large though. Well, I'm just saying, like when he came up to me, for those who don't know any of the backstory, I was saying, and Guillermo says that I am deeply unfair to Darren Dietrich.
It's so unfair what
It's
you do
Derek.
to Derek Dietrich.
What I call him, Darren?
Darren.
You called him Darren. Yeah, fine. Sorry, man.
Wow, I hadn't heard from you in a minute. You hadn't had anything to say around here. It wasn't even clear you were around here for 5 minutes.
I was getting my computer. I was logging in, getting some
but
things
you got
situated
in there.
here.
You got in there. You got
I don't
in
miss
there.
one, Danny.
No, you don't miss it. You're not listening when I need you to be listening, but you are listening when I don't need you to be listening.
I mean, Darren Dietrich.
So, do you know this story, those two guys?
No, I do not.
So I was saying he's not a major leaguer, that's not a major leaguer. And that they were wasting, the Marlins were wasting the season that Ozuna and Yelich and Stanton had and Bohr, the season that those guys had, like you put some things around them, something. They wasted all of it, right? We were waiting forever for that to be the best outfield in baseball, and last year it was something like it.
I mean, but there was injuries, which is why he was playing. Like
Right.
tons of them.
Right. But so Darren Dietrich,
It's Derek.
mother.
Man. Jeez.
You got to double up now until you learn.
Where's the Darren
twice
coming
as much.
from?
I don't
Where?
know. I don't
Where?
know. I don't know.
Let's figure it out. Though. Let's
Age.
explore.
I'm gonna say
it's
age.
just age.
I'm going to say age. So Dietrich rides up on his bicycle with a friend of mine. They're hanging out for some reason. They ride up on their bicycles. They say hello, and he introduces himself, puts out a very firm handshake, and introduces himself as Derek Dietrich. And I'm just staring into his, lagoon of eyes. He's just,
Are they piercing?
I mean, just beautiful. Like I felt like 7 or 8 islands deep into his eyes, Leonardo DiCaprio was on a palm frond, wearing just a bathing suit, like just deep in the lagoons of his eyes. And what I was looking for as I'm holding his hand in those eyes is, does he know I've said he's not a major leaguer? And I don't know. I still don't know. I looked deep into those eyes, and I don't know.
What did his handshake tell you?
Well, his handshake was very firm, and his gaze was it stayed there in a while that made me feel guilt.
Okay, yeah, so he knew.
Yeah, he knows.
That's
Dan.
the move.
Absolutely knows.
That's a move. Look into the eyes while you shake the hand tightly.
Yeah.
He knew.
Yeah.
How did his traps look?
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Did Dietrich know? What do you think? Was anyone around here? Did anyone around here witness it?
I saw it from upstairs. At first, I thought it was like a fan encounter because you looked kind of awkward, and I was like, "Oh, someone's bothering Dan to shake his hand or whatever," because he was blocked by this like ledge that we have here. And then you came up, and you're like, "Look who's down there! Look who's down there! I think he knows! I think he knows!" And then I had to avoid him, and it's hard for me to avoid him while he's down there because I'm wearing a Miami Marlins hoodie. So obviously, I would know who he was, and we made eye contact a couple times. But I'm like, I'm not gonna bother him.
Fan encounter. Our fans don't look like that.
That is not what our fans look like.
Were you nervous upon approach? Like,
No, I was just surprised by the whole thing. I wasn't expecting to see Derek Dietrich outside of the Clevelander when I came out introducing himself to me. It's not the expected encounter.
You think he's still going to be here next year?
I mean, I guess guys like that. I thought Yelich, I really did think Yelich would stay just because it's such a great contract. Like, if you're going to be better, if you plan on being good in 4 years, Yelich is someone you can use in 4 years. Like, and that they got decent prospects for Yelich, it's still disconcerting that contract would also be something that would be gone. But why would Yelich want to be here?
Right. Well, he said he didn't want to be here. I just you know what? If you're going to do what you've already done, just break it all down.
Yeah.
Like, just trade everyone and get as many prospects as you can.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
though.
100%.
This is a good contract, a cheap contract. This guy will be good for you 4 years from now.
Well, yeah, like that's kind of like the defeatist attitude that everyone has. Like, if you're going to get rid of someone, get rid of everyone. It's like, but why? Like, he could be valuable. You could still build around him, and he'll still be cheap in 4 years. Like, if he's going to pout, whatever, like, deal with it. Suck it up. He'll be an all-star every year because his team's going to be terrible. You don't need to burn everyone to the ground at the same time.
One of the things that's weird about this, one of the many things that's weird about it, because you could go a different way, you could strip it down. They have so badly alienated their good contracts like Real Muto and Bohr and Yelich, that those guys, I mean, why would they want to work here? Like, because when you've just alienated them, you're not consulting with them on what you're doing. You're just coming in and you're sweeping a brush and you're sweeping everything out. And it doesn't matter if Yelich has value, and it doesn't matter if this isn't the best time to trade Stanton. You're just sweeping out, and then to turn around and then ask for trust. It's a hard ask.
It's an impossible ask, is what it is.
Because you're looking at it now, and once you trade Yelich, you're like, oh, you guys aren't trying at all right now. You're just not trying. You're not. This isn't about maybe building a different kind of team. Yelich, anyone would argue, Yelich can start anywhere in the major leagues, and at that contract, Yelich's value, period. That doesn't need to be discarded. Like,
it just tells you how abysmal the farm system was. Like, Jeter's like, screw it. I don't care what people say. I am building this farm system again. Like, that's it.
Chris Cody loves what Derek Jeter is doing.
I don't love it. I just understand it.
So do I, though.
The farm system was so bad. That's why last year Dietrich was playing, is because there was nobody to go to. They had nobody.
But I understand the farm system was bad. The outfield was so good. Like, a lot of people, and I'm certain Guillermo feels like they weren't very far away from being able to contend with that outfield.
Yeah, they don't agree with that, though. They don't. They're like being 2 and 3 pitchers away is not being close. And it's not. They had career years from all those guys. You can't keep expecting that. All of the outfit. That's why I'm saying they wasted that last year.
Right.
They wasted it, and I don't know what would have been different if Jose Fernandez hadn't died, because then you wouldn't have been 2 or 3 pitchers away. But the thing that I don't understand specifically as it relates to Yelich is, once you're willing to trade Yelich, which is the good young talent at value, then you're telling me that, none of the emotional attachments matter. Like, none of it. You don't care about a single customer that you have previously had and what those ties might be, because Yelich is the one thing that Real Muto and Yelich are the two things where you're looking. Those are very cheap contracts, and their value. Those are good baseball players that might be good 3 or 4 years from now. If indeed your best plans work out and your high-end scenarios, your farm system is great the next 3 years. Even still, those guys would have been guys who would help you then, even if you reached that point.
I mean, you're ultimately hoping that the people you got back turn into the people you just traded. And one of them was an MVP who hit 59 home runs, who you're not going to get back in a trade. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I don't know.
What are you going to do about it is what I'm wondering, because I want to get into this next. Like, Guillermo, you're pissed off. You've still got some vestiges. Like, this is the way it happens with betrayed fan bases, right? Like, you want to keep them somewhere. Love you, hate you. You want to keep them emotional, angry, frustrated, irritated, feel emotions. Once you get to, I don't care, how often you're saying, who cares? I don't care. When is that going to manifest itself in, I'm not going to games? Like, when is that going to manifest itself in something that is in your behavior? Because you've still got the last vestiges of some sort of anger, but you're tilting toward, I'm so tired of this.
Well, it's interesting because half of the things that people gave me for Christmas were like Marlins jersey, Marlins hat, Marlins this. So, like, I'm still, like, it's still part of me, but I'm going to go to opening day because I go every year to opening day, but I think that's it. Like, what's the point of going after that? They're not trying. They're not trying. You know, the biggest thing about Jeter and the Project Wolverine and all that stuff that came out is that he's there and he's telling people, I want to win, I'm a born winner, we're going to compete, we're going to have a competitive team, which is ridiculous while he's saying it. But if the focus is on winning and turning this team around, I would think that his bonuses would be based on performance of the team, not on the financial side of it. And when his bonuses are based on the financial side of this team, I mean, I don't know that he's trying to win.
Well,
he's trying to win for the owners.
No, that's a fair skepticism. It's a fair skepticism to have. All I can tell you is that the people around him would say, look, this is not a business venture for Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter could have spent the rest of his life making money very easily in a lot of different ways and places without having to take on the task of taking on a baseball team. That Derek Jeter is about wanting to win with coupons and win finding discounts.
But the way it's set up, I mean, Billy's right. It doesn't seem like that.
That's right.
It doesn't appear to be the case.
Correct. The way it looks is not like that.
And ultimately, he's not the one signing the check, so he's not the one making the decisions on how much the payroll is going to be. I mean, he's barely an owner of this team. He's just the face of it, so he's doing what he's told. But it's a bad look when your bonuses are based on the investors making money.
I think that one of the things that was interesting about how all of this stuff played out, and it's not a small thing, Derek Jeter didn't want to be the CEO of this franchise. Derek Jeter wanted to be the owner and couldn't get the money and the votes. So Derek Jeter has settled into the lesser job. Like baseball couldn't get Derek Jeter's money approved. They couldn't find a way to make him the owner. The other owners weren't ready for Derek Jeter as owner. And so Derek Jeter right now is in a job below the one that he signed up for. I don't know what the damages of that are, but that's if Derek Jeter had gotten everything his way, Derek Jeter would actually not just have power over the baseball side of this. He would have power over all of the money. He does not.
Maybe the only thing that hasn't gone Derek Jeter's way his entire life.
I mean, yeah. That's he has lived 2 decades in the tabloids. He lived them without having a bad public moment. That's not easy to do.
Hi, everyone. Stu Gatz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you are confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you the same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you are getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugatz. That's rocketmortgage.com/Stugatz, STUGOTZ, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Dan Le Batard.
To announce that they have podcasts now, Spotify is saying you can listen to the Dan Le Batard Show here. We're one of the very few shows that they're doing this. It's very cool. And they came up with a really cool marketing slogan for our show. Big stats, loud hats.
What is that?
I think it's something that you should sign off segments with.
Big stats, loud hats.
Yes.
And then it ends that way?
Yeah.
I don't like big stats, loud hats. That's not our show.
Well, the loud hats are.
Stugats.
Big fats.
Yeah, see, there you go. That's so much better. Why are we not doing that with Spotify?
Big fats, loud hats, and then what do we do?
No, then you just go to commercial.
Yeah, we stare at each other awkwardly and end the segment.
Big stats, big fats.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on the ticket.
We'll make fun of Guillermo in a second because he has become the voice for the Marlin fan. And when I say that, I mean there are no other fans. Billy's the last voice that cares. And so he has become the voice of the Marlin fan because he's the last remaining Marlin fan in an apocalyptic dystopian baseball tomorrow.
Billy is the voice of Billy.
That's right. So, but Billy is a hero at Marlins games. Like 3 or 4 people, like long hostages, they crawl to his knees and are like, thank you for giving us a voice on the radio. The 3 or 4 dying Marlins fans that are left that have some ounce of energy. Most of them got killed at the end by that whole, Ozzy Castro controversy, the Ozzie Guillen Castro controversy.
You think I could be their all-star next year?
No.
As the one Marlins fan
representative.
Voice?
Yeah.
Before we go down this path, though, of making...
I do wonder, though. I think this could potentially, if Billy's willing, of course, a good idea here, because no one's going to these games. If Billy were to go to the games with the sole purpose of booing and objecting and rooting against the Marlins because he's so upset about how they've gone about their business, I think that he could fill an entire section with people who would want to do that with him. I do. I do. He's their leader. Yeah.
You could be in a reverse sort of weird way, Billy. You could lead a crusade of Marlin fans to the game to hate the Marlins, but giving Derek Jeter money for tickets bought to go there and hate baseball instead of love it.
See, that's my hang-up, is the giving him the money part. Like, monster trucks are coming. That's cool. But if I go to monster trucks, I'm giving him money. I don't want to give him money.
Right.
I want him to fail. But then we fail. So do I want him to fail or do I want him to succeed?
That last thought there that tumbled in at the end is the dilemma, is it not? It's like, I want him to fail, but wait a minute. If he fails, then what happens? Then I lose baseball. And then, but wait a minute, I like baseball.
Quite the
Why
conundrum.
am I rooting for him to fail when it means that baseball will not be good? And I like baseball. I'm rooting against myself. I hate myself. I hate baseball. I don't want to spend any more money on baseball. I'll be there opening day.
I feel like you've been in my head.
But before we get to that, I want to marvel at a seminal point in this show's history. And you may have missed it. There wasn't very much fanfare. But for the first time in the last segment, we arrived at the radio show I always hoped to be. The sports radio show for a market that matters to a market that's linked to a market with roots. The Marlins traded Christian Yelich yesterday, and we immediately went to analysis from the former assistant head coach of Piper High School to get a breakdown immediately to the news that the best prospect that they got back for Yelich went 1 for 4 in a game against assistant head Piper coach Chris Cody.
Yeah.
We were that show.
Sits dead red 0-2, man.
Shining across the sky.
From a curve.
We hurtled towards stardom and glory, and the peak of all of it was the day the Marlins had a trade, and Chris Cody found his voice and came to the microphone with just the crappiest analysis I've ever heard.
We'll see. I'm keeping an eye out for that.
Right, I can't wait till the first time. This guy is, it's 0-2 in the count. You think he's learned? They're not throwing fastball 0-2?
The scouting report on Piper High had the scouting report on the prospect that they got back for Yelich. And our other analysis, by the way, is looks good in a uniform and has a great name.
He's not going to last long. He's out of here. Jeter wants to be the only Derek. I'm reporting that right now. He's gone.
He's got a name that sounds like Speed.
Yeah, he does.
We're not talking about Dietrich, by the way, Bill.
No.
We're talking about the prospect.
You say looks good in a uniform, and it's Dietrich to me. That's all I see.
You went to Dietrich with looks good in a uniform, and you guys already said that's $2. Guillermo, $2.
Dan, you can do it by looks sometimes. I believe Bobby Cox, there was a story told yesterday at Chipper Jones where he said, hey, I don't need to see this kid play. Just look at him. His face looks like a baseball player's face, and he's named Chipper Jones.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's so true. Guillermo, put it on the poll. Does Chipper Jones's face look like a baseball player's face? That's such a good point by Stugatz.
Thank you.
Give me all the other guys who you look at their face. Give me all the guys that you look at their face and you say, yes, of course he's going to be a Hall of Famer in baseball. Look at him. Look at his face.
There are guys like that. They're really like Mickey Mantle, I think, probably had that face going way,
you know
way
what,
back.
though? Does it always work, though? Because this is how I wonder about this. Because I feel like Mark Kotsay had that face.
Ooh.
I feel like he had that face.
Kotsay should have been better.
Because of that face.
Yeah.
And the name's good, too.
The name is
Mark
good.
Kotsay, yeah.
Yeah.
Stanton has that look now.
I mean, the look for sure. For sure. Put this on the poll, Guillermo. Has anyone ever looked better in a baseball uniform than Giancarlo Stanton?
You could just put better in general.
Right.
There's nobody who's ever looked better in a baseball uniform.
Ron Gant?
Oh, Ron Gant.
no, yeah,
great.
Ron
Because Ron Gant had the tighter uniforms.
Yes, he would go tighter uniforms. But imagine if Giancarlo Stanton were playing in those vanity uniforms that Ron Gant was playing in, where he tied at the bicep to show off the guns.
I'm looking at Mark Kotsay. Sorry, Mike. I don't know. I think you're wrong on Kotsay, man. His face was kind of droopy. He looks sad. I'm serious. I mean, come on. Tell me I'm wrong here.
Well, that photo does look like an incredibly sad Mark Kotsay. That photo that you're showing me looks like Mark Kotsay at a funeral. But that's not what Mark Kotsay's face always looked like. They just captured him in one sad moment.
I'm looking at pictures of Ron Gant right now. I'm going to come out and say it. This dude's ass is ridiculous.
No. I mean, yes.
It's incredible. These thighs.
Yeah.
He is not sexier in a uniform than Giancarlo Stanton.
There is one picture where he's holding the bat on his shoulder, and he is bursting out of this uniform.
Mike, Ron Gant would be an earring hanging from the lobe of Giancarlo Stanton in the batter's box. Ron Gant was a second baseman and a third baseman. He was squat. He was like...
No, he was an outfielder.
Later in his career he was an outfielder, but he was an infielder early in his career, and he was short. Look, this is my wheelhouse, man. Dude. 1990s Braves baseball is my wheelhouse.
Yeah, so stacked.
He did have very big arms.
And the lower body, though, is ridiculous.
What was the height of Ron Gant?
Oh, he was tiny, man, right?
You're talking about his actual height? Because I'm going to say Cincinnati Reds pinstripe uniform was the height of Ron Gant.
I was not asking you for the height of Ron Gant, and it was absolutely not.
The pinstripes aren't even in straight lines because of the curvature of its body.
Guillermo, put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. What was the height of Ron Gant? Reds or Braves?
Or 6 feet.
This is unbelievable.
Yeah, put 3
or
options.
6 feet.
His actual height.
He's listed as 6 feet.
Or Reds or
Ron Gant is not 6 feet.
This guy was a mountain
That's
of
what
a
it
man.
says here.
No.
I got to Google if he was ever a second baseman.
I've stood next to Ron Gant.
Don Le Batard.
Put it up on the poll. Should we talk to LeVar Ball on Monday to ask him for a refund on our Big Baller shoes and treat him as customer service?
No refunds. Expensive costs.
Stugatz.
Wait a minute. It was too early. I was waiting for the end of the segment. Why'd you blurt in there?
I was so excited when I found out cost rhymes with lost, and I get to do never lost. Expensive costs.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugatz on the ticket.
That is not the way that I had Vince McMahon coming out of the box.
It was so disappointing on so many levels. All of it, man. Like he's creating a minor league for the NFL. I don't want a watered down NFL.
Oh, this is brilliant. This is a business model that'll work because this is for white people. We stand for anthems. No drinking, no driving. It's amazing. This is what he has to do to make this a viable business. You're all standing for an anthem. Johnny Manziel, you're not allowed. We are pitching this a middle America.
More rules. I couldn't
No.
believe.
But then
These
the
are
game
rules
starts, Mike.
reformed. It's padded roulette. The game's going to be faster. There's going to be no halftime. Isn't that grand? That's amazing.
It is crazy. Hold on.
2-hour games, right?
2-hour games.
Let me give you guys, before Mike Ryan played that XFL sound, this is the private show I was treated to during the break. Stugatz waves 5 sausage fingers across my face with one hand and tilts the computer my way with the other hand. And he just points at the face on the computer, and he's, Dan, listen to me. Dan, look at me. Listen to me. If this face, it's the face of Steve Garvey in a batter's box. If this face comes into my office, I'm giving him a baseball contract, and I'm saying, I will sign you. I am going to become a scout at the moment and see Steve Garvey's face, and I'm going to say, based on that face, I will sign Steve Garvey to a lifetime baseball contract. I don't know if he holds a bat, if he's ever seen a baseball, but that will be good at baseball.
Yes.
Those forearms, those hairy forearms and that face. We fell down a rabbit hole during that break where Mike Ryan, I've never seen him so passionate about anything. Not about music, not about his wife, not about anything. It was about 90s Ron Gant.
Oh.
In a uniform, he was scrolling through pictures like you would for an old high school fling. And I saw Mike Ryan looking at his past, at his childhood, and just nostalgic over the last time he cared about baseball, which is when Ron Gant was filling out a uniform.
When Ron Gant shared an outfield with Brian Jordan and Ray Langford. Oh, man.
What is it about sports that we could do that show for the rest of time with our audience, reminiscing about a time period where you cared about sports differently than you care about it now because life has gotten in the way and you've but
Brings you back to your childhood.
no, but I'm
doesn't it?
saying all that stuff where Mike right there is a kid just going through Ron Gant photographs. It's like going back and visiting your childhood.
Yeah, it is. You get to the shirtless one on the Topps card. You get to that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
With the bat behind his neck?
Yeah. You cannot say that Ron Gant fills out a uniform better than Giancarlo Stanton does. But hold on a second. Also during the break, while Stugatz was looking longingly at the photographs of the face of Steve Garvey,
Still am.
the conversation broke out around him. And for some reason, Stugatz kept saying, I'm in a field in Missouri. So go ahead and tell people, because I want to explain something, a truth we stumbled upon during the break.
I'm a rogue scout, and I'm trying to get into the business. And I'm going to obscure places to find, a guy that I'm going to sign to be my first big client. And I'm on a baseball field in Missouri, and I'm calling every Major League Baseball team, all the general managers, saying, listen, I'm out here on a baseball field in Missouri, and there's this kid, Goose Gossage, on the mound. Mm-hmm. I stop him right there. I stop myself right there. If I'm the GM on the other side of that conversation, sign him right now.
But hold on a second. Are you going?
But you're a rogue scout.
You're a rogue scout, though. You can't be both of these people. I know you want everything.
I'm just saying, if I'm the GM and I hear Goose Gossage is available on a field in Missouri, right, I tell that rogue scout to sign him immediately.
I know, but here's the dilemma that you have. Here's the dilemma you have, because I understand what you're saying, and everyone agrees with that. We could finally get consensus on something. If you were a rogue scout in Missouri trying to get into the business, and you called from a field and said, I've got Goose Gossage here, and he's got an amazing arm, they should sign, and you should break into the business, and they should make a movie about your life, because that everyone agrees with. But now I tell you that Goose's name is actually Richard.
Don't sign him.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Now the rogue scout gets on the phone. You're not going to believe this. I've got Dick Gossage. Yeah, listen. Yeah, I'm going to have to pass. I'm going to have to pass. Dick Gossage isn't going to amount to anything. Goose will be a Hall of Fame reliever.
Yes. You can do the same thing with Chipper.
Well, that might even be the better one.
If you call and say, hey, I got Chipper Jones. I'm out here in Missouri.
I
mean, this kid, he's hitting home runs.
Wire him some money.
It's a real thing. It happened in real time. Look, B.J. Upton, good. Melvin Upton.
Oh, terrible. But I call you with Larry Jones.
That's right. The rogue scout calling in from Missouri. I've got Larry Jones here. Yeah, I'm not signing Larry.
Yeah.
If he went by Larry Jones, he probably has a cup of coffee.
He wouldn't have been a Hall of Famer. Exactly. Guillermo, put it on the poll. If Chipper had gone by Larry, would he have made the Hall of Fame?
Never would have gotten signed.
Who is the greatest Larry? It's Larry Bird. Who is the greatest Larry? It's tough.
Larry Millan.
What?
He's up there. Dos amigos, man.
Wow.
He's top five.
I'm lightheaded right now with nostalgia. Talk about going back to your childhood. Larry Millan.
There aren't a lot of great Larrys out there, man. I mean, he might be in the conversation. Larry Fitzgerald.
Larry David.
Larry Zabisco.
Larry Walker.
Oh, Larry Fitzgerald.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. If we go 10 famous Larrys, is the bottom half of our list going to be really weak? If we go 10...
Millan cracks
No, Millan doesn't crack anything.
I think he does.
He's the amigo.
Larry the Cable Guy.
If we went top 10 famous
I'm telling
Larrys,
you, Larry the Cable Guy is like, you're right. You're like, that's right around 7, 8, 9, 10 in that area.
Let's put together the definitive list.
All right, Larry Bird, we agree.
Larry King.
Larry King.
Larry King.
Larry King is in there.
Larry Fitzgerald.
Uh-huh.
Right, he's got to be, so that's 3 right now. Larry David, 4.
Uh-huh.
Oof. Getting down to the nitty gritty.
Larry Hagman.
Larry Hagman.
Oh, he's no Millan.
Larry Hagman. What?
Larry Holmes.
That'd be the bottom half. It might sneak in at 10, others receiving votes.
Mike getting mad. He doesn't want this many. Hold on.
There aren't many Larrys. You're right.
Larry Zonka.
Oh, Zonk.
Ooh,
damn it.
Local favorite.
Are we putting Zabisco on there, too?
Zabisco can't make the top 10.
He's a living legend.
Larry Zabisco can't make the top 10.
He is the living legend.
He's a living legend. It's in his name.
Yeah.
How about Larry Brown? We putting him in there?
Oh, he won a Super Bowl MVP, didn't he? Oh, no, you're talking about the
That's
other
Larry Allen. That's a fine.
No, is it?
Who are you talking about? Maybe I just got fined. I'm talking about Larry Brown, the basketball coach.
I was talking about Larry Brown, the guy that lucked into a couple interceptions.
Are there any black Larrys? I mean,
Larry Brown, Super Bowl MVP. That's a fine for you for incorrectly correcting me.
Yeah. I'm pretty certain Larry Holmes was black.
You got Larry Wilmore and Larry Fishburne.
Larry Johnson.
Larry Fishburne.
Yes, that counts.
That's
That
not
counts.
count. Larry
That
Fishburne
counts.
doesn't count.
You could be
Wait a minute. You can't make Lawrence. You cannot make Lawrence Fishburne Larry.
Boys in the Hood. He was Larry Fishburne. All right, that counts.
Larry Fishburne would never be in the Matrix.
Yeah, that's true.
You do the same thing. If I'm a
He's so
scout,
right.
like an acting
He's so
scout,
right.
hey, I got Larry Fishburne or Lawrence Fishburne.
It's not Larry Olivier. It's not Larry
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Arabia.
No, if he was credited in a movie as Larry Fishburne, it counts.
Roy, you go straight to hell.
Whoa!
You are so wrong about this.
I woke up today as a Christian.
He was credited in what was the Francis Ford Coppola movie? Apocalypse Now. He was Larry Fishburne in that as well, a 14-year-old or 15-year-old Larry Fishburne. You cannot make Lawrence Fishburne Larry. I feel like that. Guillermo, put this on the poll. Is calling Lawrence Fishburne Larry a fireable offense that should end Roy's career on our show?
This is a hill that I will die on.
Yeah, you can't get into the Hall of Fame as Dick Gossage. That Mike is a time I would love to go back to. What is the time, Stugotz? When you think of childhood and you think of your sports memories and your weird infatuations with teams in other markets, because we grew up in a different time than today's kids. They're seeing all the games.
Right.
When we grew up, when we were learning to love sports, there was, baseball on one channel a week. You never got to see all of the players. There were teams that you never saw.
I only saw the Mets and Yankees play, and I saw obviously the teams that they were playing.
So, but
right.
when I say, like, I was just doing this with a friend of mine the other day. Tell me that this isn't fun, Mike. Going back and trying to name, like, whatever that random 90s lineup that you knew because you knew the Brewers lineup. You cared about baseball weirdly back then, and you just knew the Brewers lineup.
Jeff Cirillo.
Yeah, but we go back to like 80s and 90s, right? So you were doing like the Gorman Thomas, Robin Yount.
Right, but
yes.
I think that game would still be fun in your 30s if you're going back. I think the game would be fun for this portions of this audience to sit there and try and name the original opening day 1993 Marlins roster, right? Roy, look at the smile on Roy's face, right? Like, I'm saying this is always fun for people.
Always fun,
to
yes.
go back to that time. Like, Junior Bleepin' Felix was the right fielder, man.
Yeah, Scott Pose.
Chucky Carr.
They were fighting it out for center field.
Oh, no,
Chucky-
he wasn't.
no,
No,
Chucky Carr
he
wasn't-
wasn't in that lineup. No,
Chucky Carr wasn't opening day.
No, Scott Pose was the opening day center fielder, but it was a big spring training battle between Chuck Carr and Scott Pose, and Scott Pose won the job, batted .400 the first week, and then was never seen again.
Dave Magadan.
Yeah.
That was the third baseman.
Mags.
Brett Barbary.
Yeah.
Second baseman, Walt Weiss was the shortstop.
Orestes Estrada.
First base. Who's the catcher?
Benito. Come on.
Santiago.
Oh, Benito. He looks good in a uniform, Benito.
Yes.
Backup catcher Bob Nadel.
Oh, yeah.
Backup catcher Bob Nadel.
So much fun.
How about the pitching staff?
Charlie.
Pat Rapp.
Who was the number 2 starter? See if you remember this. This is a tough one. Who was the number 2 starter for the 1993 Marlins?
Was it Chris Hammond?
Nope.
David Waters.
Was it David Stormy Weathers?
Nope.
Chris
The
Hammond
reliever.
could rake, by
No,
the way.
you guys are going to. This one's
Hold on,
obscure.
give me a
This is
minute.
the
Remember
tough
when
one.
we had different, speaking of like pitchers that could rake, remember whenever you put Dennis Cook in the pit?
Oh, my God.
yeah,
I remember him hitting a
Different
home
team.
run in extra innings,
Yeah.
pinch hitting. Oh,
We pitched him in the
York.
World Series.
Yeah.
World
Yes.
Series.
Dennis Cook.
Yeah, Cookie.
Cooker. Yeah.
Cookie.
Cooker. Is it Cooker or Cookie?
I believe it's Cookie.
Well, that was one of them.
No, there was already a Cookie on the squad, so he had.
Yeah, Rojas. Cookie Rojas, third base coach.
Are you sure it wasn't Chris Hammond?
The second starter on that team was Jack Armstrong.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yes.
Wasn't Veda Pinson the first base coach?
Veda Pinson was. The late Veda Pinson was the first base coach. Why? Please explain this to me. Baseball. How does baseball get back to this? Why do we care this way? It's weird. It's weird.
There was a time I could tell you all their numbers also.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying, like, what is it? What a crud team that was.
Benito's 09 was so cool so that his catcher strap could go between the numbers and it wouldn't bother him. 09.
You know what? Even do that today? Can you go 0 with a digit after it nowadays?
I'm not certain.
I don't think you can do that anymore.
Gods, this is such a nostalgic time for me because what I specifically remember for some reason about those teams, and Benito was a rock star. Benito Santiago, as the catcher for the Marlins, made his way through South Florida just impregnating the shore. Like, that guy was running this city.
And he looked like the time.
Looked like the time. He came in the car of the time, a Ferrari. But I remember sort of being introduced for the first time to sports wealth through Benito Santiago, because I'm looking at him and he's got all the riches in the world, and he's in the locker room, and he's in this locker room where he could throw from his knees at the catcher and make millions of dollars, and nobody around him's any good. He's the only great player. It's like a 90s movie about baseball at the time, and he's looking through a catalog, and he's just got so much wealth that he's saying in Spanish, I'm going to buy a blue dog.
Perro azul.
Yes, and he's looking through a catalog. Look, come, amigo, come, look. I don't want a normal dog like everyone else. I don't know why I'm doing a Ricardo Montalban. I don't know. He had an accent. I'm allowed to do that because I have accents in my family.
Quiero un guau azul.
Sí. Mira, Dani, mira el perrito este. Puedo comprar un perro azul. Did you know that you could buy a blue dog? Put it on the poll. Guillermo at Levitard Show. Did you know? Because I didn't know until that moment.
Santiago. That guy would kick my ass.
Yeah. All right. Well, what he would do, right? He would knife you, like pull it out of his, like a sword, and he would slash you, swashbuckling. Oh, why do I love Benito Santiago so much?
Oh, Larry Flint.